Welcome to the Social Podcast, where no discussion or debate is off limits.
Grab a seat, let's get going. Listen, happy Tuesday and welcome to the Social. Joining us today from Chum 104.5, the one and only Jamar McNeil is back. Happy New Year, Jamar.
Happy New Year to everybody.
Yes, happy
2025, are you ready?
I mean, things have been happening, haven't they?
Oh my God.
Well, let's begin with that because yesterday, as we know, it was a really big day in Canadian politics. The Prime Minister announced his intention to resign and indicated that he thinks, and one of the things he said yesterday was that he believes his resignation will help, quote, bring down the temperature in the House of Commons and the nation. The idea of bringing down the temperature. Andrea, the sentiment feels like a lot of people in the country are just angry. So do you think his resignation will finally bring the temperature down?
Well, I'm gonna start with saying I'm angry because I just came off a really nice vacation and we're launching into all this hard stuff, so thank you, Justin. But honestly, I'm not hearing a lot of anger. If anything, I've been hearing anger for the last couple of months from friends and family and acquaintances who've been very angry about what's been going on in the country. And since his announcement, I'm hearing a lot of jubilation. People are very happy. They're like, finally, they got what they wanted. But I'll tell you something, it's very interesting. I think it's something, no matter if you like him or hate him, something is very evident that the political climate in this country has changed. There's a lot more vitriol, a lot more hatred, something that we've never seen before. I live in the downtown area, and I cannot tell you how many anti-Trudeau rallies, parades that I've seen in the last couple of years, which has been very interesting and something I've never seen before. And while I'm paying attention to what's happening, I'm also noticing that people who don't like him, who are like, I don't like Trudeau. And I'm like, okay, well, give me the top 3 things you don't like. And most times they cannot give me a hard answer, which is troubling to me. It's like, well, you're saying it with your whole chest, but you don't have an answer. So I think
they don't like what their lives feel like right now. Like,
I know, but if you're going to say something with your whole chest, you think you'd be able to say, okay, if I say I don't like Jamar, and someone says, well, I'm like the hair, the shirt, like, here's specifics. I'm fine with it.
Great.
But you know what I'm saying? I'm just playing. But you should, if you're gonna have such a strong feeling, give me some real strong answers.
Facts?
Give me facts. But I'll tell you something. There's also something that I'm noticing, not just here, but around the globe, there is a sentiment of the same kind of anger from people. And we're talking about United States, we just saw with their election, also in places like Germany, in the UK, several other countries, and actually the Prime Minister of Denmark actually said there's a name that keeps coming up, and that's Elon Musk.
So it's social media.
I want you guys to pay attention to that. He says, I find it worrying that a man with enormous access to social media and large financial resources is so directly involved in the internal affairs of other countries. This is not how it should be between democracies and allies.
Yeah.
So while everybody, whatever your political leanings, however you feel, do a little bit more reading, pay a little bit more attention because
some receipts.
The climate is changing in a different way, and it doesn't make me feel
Speaking of
good.
receipts, you know, I think people have a short-term memory when it comes to politics. They think about what's going on today and who the figurehead is, and they blame that person. They forget all the conditions, be it political, be it corporate, everything that had to do with global that brings us to this moment. So while Justin Trudeau is getting all the vitriol for where we are today, what were the things? COVID, you know, the grocery prices, all the things, what made those things happen? And is it all Justin's fault? I don't know. But I think people really need to figure out what exactly they're mad at. And not who, but what they're mad at.
And manage your expectations, because the new person, are they going to be able to fix those issues?
Well, the new person has already gone on record and said that pump the brakes, things aren't going to change overnight, implying that there are many, many factors that work to the current situation that we're in. I do think people have been mad, and for good reason. I think the last little while there's been frustration all around. Unemployment, the fact that many people will never be able to afford a home, grocery prices being unaffordable. Like, there's a lot to rage at. And I think what happens is people don't know where to put that anger, right? So you look at the leadership, and of course, you're like, why haven't you done something? When really, if you get into the nuances and the weeds, there could be better questions asked. Like, why, for example, have this was a recent article on CTV, the top 100 paid Canadian CEOs earned on average 210 times more than the average worker did in 2023. So if your grocery prices are going up and these people at the tippy top are making exponential profits, you can start to ask yourself some questions. Now, somebody might say, then why didn't Justin Trudeau put some sanctions in place to let corporations not maybe make these exorbitant bonuses and structures? The thing is that like I'm not an economist. I don't know the way that works. What I do know is that people who have a lot of money also end up having a lot of power.
Yes.
And if you anger these business owners and you anger people who have the most wealth in a country, chances are the tides are going to shift anyway. So you have to do this balancing act and this dance as a politician that is quite, that of course we expect them to do and they should do. What has alarmed me throughout this time is the merch.
The merch?
What do you mean the merch?
I mean like the stickers, the F Trudeau, the signs, the t-shirts. I have never seen that level. No matter how, hating a politician is not new.
No.
But this level
But the merch is new.
The merch is new.
The
And I think
parade,
that's
yes.
social media. That is social media, and that's disturbing.
I agree with you completely, but we have to also put this in context because I agree with everything all of you said. I don't think you can blame one person for all the demise of your life. It's just not realistic. We live in a global atmosphere, so our economies are all linked. And the billionaires are running everything. If you think your prime minister or president is the boss, just look what happened in the United States. Billionaires put Trump in. Trump didn't get in. But anyway, that's a whole other story. My point is, to your point of merch, what social media has done, and in the era that Justin Trudeau has been prime minister, has been the last 10 years. And we now have a new microscopic focus on the impact that social media has had on rhetoric around the world. Everything from not only mental health, but we're no longer sitting at home. When you take a look at when Brian Mulroney was prime minister, and he started in office with the low 60% approval rating. He left office with a 12% approval rating. But you didn't see F. Mulrooney bumper stickers because you know why? People didn't have a venue. You know what they had to do? They'd take out a paper and a pen.
Typewriter.
Maybe a typewriter. I am very upset with you, sir. And now what we do is we do this, and then you find a community.
everyone
But we
and the
reward
echo
people
chamber.
now.
And you don't
we
even have to
reward
have a
people.
well thought out. It's like 140 characters. That's it.
Exactly.
Oh, but
So
the
I think-
rewards are immense for having these
Yes.
hot takes and these really horrible statements and slogans because you get followers.
Yeah.
And
This
you
is
get a
exactly it.
following and you get
20,000 likes in an hour.
Yes, but I think, I think if we go back to the economy, which I think is where a lot of people are hurting, and people have the right to be mad. A lot of people will say, can we hold two thoughts at the same time? Can I care as much about the environment if I can't pay rent? Can I care as much about social justice if I can't put food on the table? And these are real big questions that a government has to deal with. And I just think we are putting a lot of pressure. It's a big job, so you got to step up to the plate. But if we believe that that person is responsible for all of our happiness or all of our ills, I think we're a little deluded. A little deluded. Yeah. I just hope everybody takes this energy and makes sure that if we have a vote coming soon, use your voice in your vote.
Can I add? Do some
something.
research. Do some research.
Do some research.
Research.
Oh my gosh! Oh, I have something.
Yeah,
There was someone. Sorry. We had someone who was here recently who said they don't vote. They don't think it's important. They think it's a waste of time. And I was like, what?
Wild. Yeah.
Please vote, especially women. We had to fight. We died and we fought for our right to vote. Please vote in the next election.
Would you be okay if your husband decided to go on vacation with a platonic female friend?
Interesting.
So a guy posting on Reddit said that he and his female childhood friend, they have booked a trip that they've talked about since they were teenagers. Now, he's married to another woman and his wife's upset and he's confused about it because he says his relationship with this woman is sibling-like. So he doesn't see the problem. So, is sibling-like? Is that okay?
It's the like part.
Oh, God.
Sibling-like.
I love how you're going to me first.
Relationship expert, talk us through this.
I'm gonna talk about this from a personal perspective and not an expertise perspective, because every situation is very different. But what I would say is that I would do this with a platonic friend, and I have done this.
What?
Well, so I'm very close.
Does Jason No.
Yes,
Okay,
of course he does. Well, I'm very good friends with Teddy Wilson. He's been on this show before. We used to co-host a show together, and we used to travel a lot for work. But what did that mean? Yeah, we had to go together. But at the evenings, we would go out for dinner. We would hang out together. We would talk together, and I would do that again with him. And I think we would have the blessing.
But there was a paycheck connected to that, and you're working together.
Right.
That is a co-worker.
Okay, so I've also been on several vacations with friends of mine who are lesbians. Is that any different? I mean, you have to ask yourself.
Well, you're not a lesbian, right?
It doesn't really matter
But it
where I
does.
am on the
But it
spectrum.
does.
I'm just saying,
But-
I feel that because what the elephant in the room of this is that people think people are going to cheat, correct? Is that
Right,
what that's about?
right.
People can cheat in any number of ways. They can do it on their lunch break if they
Yeah.
want, but you either trust your partner or you
But
don't.
I think the difference with your situation is there was a normative process where your husband knew this coworker. It was kind of like a thing already. This sounds like a very new situation with this guy.
childhood friend.
Childhood friend, yeah, but like how?
It
like
doesn't
she
sound
was.
like the
It's
wife
new for the
knows.
wife.
Yeah, she
It's
doesn't
new
know.
for
It's
the
new for the
wife.
wife. And like, what kind of childhood friend were they playing house or doctor? Like, what childhood friend was this? Like, you know, like.
That part.
We need to know that. You know what I mean?
So like, let's role play this out though. Okay,
Yeah.
so she says no. You
That's what
cannot.
they said.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like, if you say no to your friend, you say no to your partner. No, you cannot go on this trip.
Well, the partner has a responsibility to safety and, respect. And
Yes.
if he gets any indication from his wife that she doesn't feel safe about the situation and it feels disrespectful, it's a non-starter.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just want people to recognize, here's what I would love in 2025, is that if you want to have a long-term relationship, I think you need to start having these discussions
Yeah.
and get into the weeds and get into the uncomfortable places, because long-term monogamy and presumed monogamy is hard. And I'm not saying it's not doable and it's the perfect thing for many people, but I'm saying that if you don't start to talk about what this looks like, you are cutting off your relationship, to not expand and not to think about things in different ways.
I think I would love for you to give that advice to the guy in the situation. Don't forget, the guy is the one who wrote to Reddit and said, my wife has a really big problem with this. So my question actually goes back before the friend trip comes into play. Why is your wife already upset about this? Because I think if you have a safe and secure and trusting
That's fair.
relationship,
Right.
That's fair.
this should not even be an issue.
That is fair.
So he should ask himself that question. And going back to vacation, I don't know about you, and maybe this is a 2025 thing. For me, vacation time, if you can get time off of work, if you can afford to get away, vacation for me, if you travel with someone, that's about building memories. That's about doing something
also a luxury.
and creating something with somebody.
Yeah.
So we have we're in a hustle culture. It's hard to stop and take time to even just be with yourself, let alone with your loved one. So if I have only this much vacation time and you, husband, only have this much vacation time, and you're taking time and money to be with her?
But wait a minute. What if, again, like I think we do a disservice to men. Like what I hear from my close male friends is sometimes a lot of them have a hard time making friends with other men. There's a lot of kind of broness and whatever. And so
So
they
the answer is making friends with other women
I'm
and
just
hanging
saying,
out with
I
them on
have
vacation?
friends with all kinds of genders. I have like intimate relationships, non-sexual, with tons of people. And I'm just saying, like, if we give the benefit of the doubt, there's this kind of default mode we all go into that men do this and they're bad.
No, I'm gonna jump in here. I'm gonna jump in here for a second. I'm gonna jump in. I hear what you're saying, but I also think that we have to be a little bit more, like, let's be realistic. I'm not saying that every man's gonna cheat. I have lots of male friends, and I'm not sleeping with any of them, whether they're married, single. Like, I'm that girlfriend, and you don't have to worry about me. But I'm definitely not going on vacation with you, especially if it upsets your partner. I'm not gonna put it back in the woman.
Yeah.
If I'm doing something that upsets my friend's wife, well, then it stops immediately. Because there's no trip that's that important that I gotta, she's twisted. How am I gonna feel good on that trip with him?
Sure,
It's like,
sure.
your wife's at home and she's mad, but we're
Yeah.
having so much fun. Like,
Right.
that to me, you should be paying more attention, both parties. And I think you have to just be, every situation is different. Like Will Smith and his ex-wife made a point of going on family vacations with just their son, because they realized with the blended family, he never got a chance to be with just his parents. If you have a situation like that and everybody understands that situation, go on that vacation, it's different. But if it's upsetting your partner, what are you really fighting for?
Yeah.
here? You can have
Yeah.
friends, but you
Yeah.
don't have to
Just
go on a
talk.
trip.
Guys, talk.
Communication.
To each other. That's all.
Agreed.
Okay, now on to something completely different. Kristen Bell is outing her husband, Dax Shepard, for watching football on his phone while at the Golden Globes, guys. She shared this video on her Instagram with the caption, #priorities. The couple were at the ceremony because Kristen was nominated for her leading role in Nobody Wants This. So is this... And Is this hilarious or disrespectful?
I don't think you guys really understand what was going on here.
Okay, no,
Break it down for us, Jamar.
This was and I'm not a Detroit Lions fan, but this was the Detroit Lions' first NFC North title since 1993. This is one of the biggest sports events in that city's history. They've stung for a very long time. And they don't stink right now. I don't know if he could have been doing anything else but watching the Detroit Lions, especially against the Vikings that day. That's it.
That's the answer. That is the answer.
It kind of is the answer.
Okay.
It was a very big game.
It goes beyond just this game, because I know we've all been to weddings, we've been to special occasions, we've been to christenings, and there's some husband with his phone like this thinking that he's hiding and he's watching the game. And what it reminds me of whenever I see, and it's usually the men who are watching sports who I see doing this, it reminds me of the way that parents have to give their toddlers a phone to keep them quiet.
I like where she went with that.
Reminds me of that. I'm like,
Rising
this
a toddler,
this
right?
is how you keep your giant baby quiet. You go, here's the game now. You just sit in front there, and so mommy can have a good time. It reminds me of that.
Dax should have put in an ear pod. That's what he should have put in an AirPod and maybe just listened, to the broadcast.
Listen, I know I love this couple. They're hilarious, but she was also maybe being inappropriate by recording him and having her phone out too during an acceptance speech or whatever. But putting Kristen aside for a second, my husband, I say this, I love my husband so much, so don't get mad at me. We were getting ready to get married, and if you get married in the Catholic Church, you have to go do the marriage prep classes, and we did them at the Archdiocese of Toronto. And so there was guys and girls, and it was the very last Sunday of our marriage prep classes. So it's exam day, okay? You actually do an exam, a compatibility exam, if you want to know. So we're getting ready for this exam, and we're all talking, and all the women were like, where are all the guys? Euro Cup 2008.
100%.
Euro Cup 2008. Pretty sure it was Italy playing somewhere. And we look over and all the guys, because back then we weren't streaming, it was a long time ago, kids, they had a radio.
Yep.
Radio!
Yep.
And they were listening. They were listening to the Euro Cup game.
See, this is how you know every couple is different, because I would much rather Jason go on a platonic vacation with his friend than watch a sporting game during marriage sex.
Come on, Cynthia.
Can we get to a
Everybody's
place?
different.
Can we get to a place where the things that mean a lot to men actually matter, and they're not
like female friendships,
or maybe like sports, and they're not casted as childlike.
I know, but it's
they're just things that really mean a lot to us.
Okay, but there are highlights of these games.
No, the highlight is not enough. You gotta watch it live.
The highlight's plenty good. I watch sports. The highlight's plenty good because you don't need to sit through the whole 2.5, sometimes 3 hours. You can just give me the best parts of it.
Nah, man, you gotta be there.
Curious. It's the most important moment of your life. You're about to receive an award, and your wife is sitting there and she's watching, I don't know, The Real Housewives of. I'm trying to find something like.
Yeah, no, The Real Housewives is important.
It's the last episode.
It's a reunion show.
Beyonce's
the Oscars.
There you go. Beyonce's halftime show or whatever.
You're gonna be upset.
I might feel some way, but I'm told that I have to understand how a woman feels all the time. I have to empathize with your feelings. There isn't a birthday.
Wow.
There isn't a birthday, wedding, or funeral that'll keep me away from my team.
I see.
Okay.
I like that one.
We're going to leave that right there. Well played, Jamar. Well played. Well played. Angelina Jolie is saying that acting was not her first love and that she only got into it because it was her mother's dream. Now, in an interview with W Magazine, she says that she does not recall making the choice to perform, just that it made her mom happy. Well, now, because of that, she's actually allowing her kids to find their own passions. Mm-hmm. So this idea of balancing your parents' hopes and dreams and wishes for you and your parents' passions, and then you as a parent. So where do we land on this? What do you want to say?
Well, I think she has to also be careful because we are really genetic, in some ways, copies of our parents. Mm-hmm. And what our parents are into, what makes them tick, can oftentimes, in my experience, give us a breadcrumb or a clue as to what we might be predisposed for or even good at. I look at my own life, like my dad had this immense record collection in our house. He was the typical Jamaican, I'm a DJ guy, every morning. I woke up every Sunday morning to bass booming, my house was shaking, and I was just like, what is this man doing downstairs? And guess what I am now? I'm a DJ.
Yes.
Yes.
But do you like it? And do you love it? You love it.
I wonder if he had been saying, okay, man, you have to be a DJ, you have to do this. You would
have pushed against it.
I may have pushed against it, but now I see myself and my father, I see my father and me so much now that I almost feel like what I do is in honor of him. I own that record collection now and I've built upon it. it's mine now and it's ours.
Interesting.
So, you know, I think Angelina, she's such a great actor.
I know.
You know, I mean, it was her mother's dream, but she's taken it to the next level, even though she said it wasn't her choice necessarily.
Yeah, but I wonder if it's something that happens when, like, for example, like when your parents do something that's really, like, you have a lot of fame and fortune and money behind it, where it kind of informs you as to what you're gonna do. For example, I'm just asking the question, don't get angry at me. Blue Ivy, would Blue Ivy have the same desire to dance in a stadium if her mother wasn't Beyonce and she didn't grow up watching her mom do this in, you know, wonderful costumes? It's a very glamorous look, right?
Yeah.
I wonder, would she still want to do it? And I think when you have parents who are very successful, whether they just have a regular business that's very successful, or they're, you know, a superstar and a celebrity, if that informs you, like, yeah, that's what I'm exposed to, and I guess that's what I should want. Whereas, like, if you have immigrant parents who came here and worked an hourly wage in the back of some grocery store, I don't know if it's the same feeling of, like, I gotta pack those boxes in the back of a grocery store. It's in my DNA. It's like, I don't think it's the same thing, because those parents come and they tell you, listen, I came here and I worked this job so you could have a better opportunity.
Can I jump on that?
Right?
I love that.
So I wonder...
I want to take that extension of that, because I think for the kids of immigrant parents, we are the fruits of their labor.
Yeah.
They came here to chase a dream.
Yeah.
They may have attained it, but a lot of them didn't, and therefore the pressure is now on the kids. I came to this country. I left my country so you could soar. So there is a pressure. You better do something, and it better be great, because that is now, there's a great side to that, because you understand they've sacrificed for us so much. The flip side is, where is what the kid wants in that? Is that what you want? And that's the friction.
And I know you've kind of gone through this.
I'm going through it right now.
Yeah.
I'm going through it right now.
And I echo, like, the question I asked Jamar, because your family, you were raised on the horse farm, as people know, and your dad's this incredible, you know, icon
Horseman,
in this horseman world. And he obviously wanted you to follow in those footsteps.
Yeah.
But do you think if he had not pressed upon you to do that, you would have been more interested in it?
Oh, Cynthia, how much time do we have to answer that question? Well, my takeaway now, because I've been really sitting with this a lot, is that my dad has a saying, and Frank Grelo has the best sayings in the world, and he said, the son of a fish must learn how to swim. So that is, if you are the child of a farmer, you're going to have to learn how to farm. Now, the difference in this era is I have maybe different opportunities than he was offered. And my child our children are growing up in a different world than we grew up. It isn't just a straight line to get to success. So now that I'm raising my daughter, I mean, to answer your question, do I feel the pressure? At some point in my life, I felt the pressure to take the family business. But at the end of the day, my dad never pressured me, because at the end of the day, he realized this is my dream. It's not your dream. And my job as a parent is to help you find your dream.
Yeah.
That's a big family discussion.
That's beautiful.
That's a big family discussion.
Yeah, it is.
Yes. So stop asking me if my daughter's riding horses. She's not. You know why? Because she doesn't want to.
She's hosting television shows.
Okay? That's all.
Subscribe to the Social Podcast so you don't miss a fiery debate. Until next time, socialites.